Vanity Fair has turned on them, Piers. Vanity Fair with a hit piece on her in particular, writing all about how she's a diva, which some of us have known and have been talking about, and how people can't handle working for her. How, okay, I want to get the quote. Let's see. Stand by. Okay. Two sources say a colleague with ties to Archetypes, her podcast, took a leave of absence after working on 3 episodes, then left Gimlet, the podcast producer, altogether. Several others described taking extended breaks from work to escape scrutiny, meaning from her, exiting their job or undergoing long-term therapy after working with Meghan. The person who interacted professionally with her says, I think if Meghan acknowledged her own shortcomings or personal contributions to situations, rather than staying trapped in a victim narrative, her perception might be better. And going on to say the prince and the starlet, according to Vanity Fair, have become local villains in Montecito. Quoting someone as saying, they are the most entitled, disingenuous people on the planet. They moved from England to get away from the scrutiny of the press, supposedly, and all they do is try to get in the press in the United States. So what does all this tell us?
Okay, I'm listening. You have my attention.
What it tells us is, rather comically, that when you have this couple who, remember on their website, it says that they're all about compassion. They're compassionate people. They're also all about mental health and helping people with mental health. They've been very vocal about that recently, about the perils of online trolling and the effect it has on people's mental health. And yet here we are with Vanity Fair, the Hollywood Bible, the thing that Meghan was most thrilled about getting the cover of a few years ago when she got engaged to Harry, which went down very badly with the palace at the time, I can tell you. But now it reveals that actually she in particular is a nasty little bully who sends staff into therapy. Think about that for a moment. This also follows all the stories about her bullying staff over here in the UK, which is unresolved. NDAs stopped all that stuff coming out, but she bullied people in a very unpleasant way over here. So it's no surprise to people who work at Buckingham Palace. They saw and witnessed all this here. So I just showed, look, they're a pair of hypocrites, they're a pair of chancers, as the Spotify guy called them, a pair of effing grifters. And they're desperately trying to maintain some kind of future as a renegade royal couple when they're no longer part of the royal family. The royals don't talk to them. The king does not talk to his own son. None of the senior royals talk to these two. Are you serious? They are total pariahs in the family because the only currency they have is trashing the royal family and the monarchy. And every time they try and do something else, nobody cares. No one cared about their podcast series. Nobody cared about the polo series recently. Nobody cared about any of it. All they want to hear is the dirt. And these two for 5 years have reveled and wallowed in royal dirt for vast amounts of money. And that's what makes Prince Harry's ongoing campaign against the UK newspapers, which had another flare-up this week, so laughably hypocritical, because he talks about intrusion into royal privacy. And yet, if you ask any senior member of the royal family, who has invaded your privacy the worst, it's
hey, y'all, come look at this.
Prince Harry. It's the guy who gave the inside track for money to Oprah, to Netflix, to his publishers, to anyone who would pay top dollar. This guy invaded the privacy of his family.
Stop it.
And yet he has the gall to present himself as some great standard bearer of ethics and decency when it comes to royal privacy. Do me a favor.
Right. Sooner or later, wait for it, everybody turns on them. It seems like all they need is exposure. All they need is time. She's bullied almost all of her staff out of the job. They all wind up leaking to the press what a horrid nightmare she was to work with. And the other piece in the Vanity Fair article, which was amazing, was about him and how neither one of them showed up with any ideas on what to do. Like, actually, how are we going to earn all this money? And that one of the ideas for the podcast that he had was that he would get people like Vladimir Putin and Mark Zuckerberg to sit with him. But it wasn't because he said everybody's got damage in their childhood.
First commentator that said this woman is going to make it back to Los Angeles. I just saw her coming. So she's not that shrewd. And unfortunately, right now, that sort of politicking is not finding a home in America. We don't want bad faith actors. We don't want a bunch of people that are going to opine about racism and sexism and misogyny. We want people that are being honest about the fact that we have a lot of issues in this country and we're not going to beat them by hating one another. And so she's not a perfect fit. Like I said, she caught a moment, and there was very much a government incentive to cause so much division with BLM, but she's not going to run in politics. She's very happy where she is in a multi-million-dollar mansion lunching with Oprah. That was her dream. And she got it.
No, you may be right. I mean, I must admit, I'd always thought there was a political ambition, but maybe you're right. And yet, when it comes to whichever company they work with, Netflix, whoever it is, they've been paid all these large sums of money to produce little content or a load of rubbish. At what point does Los Angeles wake up and say, you know what, these guys are no good?
I think that's starting to happen now. I mean, the executive over at Spotify pretty much said that these are a bunch of lazy people with bad ideas that feel entitled to money. It's the ultimate entitlement is what you're taking a look at. And I don't know if any person listening to this program actually took the time to listen to the podcast that she produced on Spotify. I did. It was a source of great humor for me. And I played some of those tidbits on the show. It's weird. It's raspy. It's her talking about her dreams, talking about, the patriarchy and feminism and just all of the buzzwords that get you invited to the right parties in LA. But there's no substance behind it. And as I said, the reason why it failed is because people want authenticity. And unfortunately, they aren't getting that from this couple anymore. So they're just going to keep being shuffled from award show to award show, given awards for basically doing absolutely nothing but acquiescing to a government narrative. It's quite pathetic, and it's sad because Harry was so well liked. He was kind of like the bad boy prince. People liked him because he seemed so authentic, and now
he was loved.
He really was.
Yeah,
he was. I loved him.
He was the good looking. He was good looking. He was charming. He did his tours in Afghanistan. He was in the front line. He was fun. He had lots of pretty girlfriends. He'd go down to the pub. He'd do things Candace, that most young lads either do or would like to do. I think, actually, and I remember asking my daughters when they were teenagers, early teenagers, what they thought of the royal family. They both said, the royal family, it's so cool. Now, I'd never thought of the royal family as cool, but Harry did make it cool, didn't he?
He did make it cool. And then all of that went away and he became very whiny. And he went the way of what we call modern psychotherapy, where therapists sit across from you and tell you that every little thing that ever happened to you makes you a special victim. And no matter how horrendous you act, once you receive that status of victimhood, everyone must understand. And that was the thing for me that I thought was just so disgusting, was, utilizing Princess Diana, someone who was very well loved in America, and pretending that you were speaking for her from the grave, which is something that Meghan Markle did. This Freudian transfer of I'm now Princess Diana and I must be saved. It's sickening and manipulative. And her reasons for doing that was she thought that it would reserve her as untouchable, as if any person with a brain believes that what Princess Diana would have wanted was for her two sons not to be speaking. What Princess Diana would have wanted was for her granddaughter, Charlotte, to be placed in a book for millions of dollars. Right? She threw a temper tantrum and upset Meghan, and Meghan cried in the heap on the floor. This is written in Spare, throwing your niece under the bus. Let's just dissolve that illusion that Princess Diana would have been okay with that, because she would not have been okay with any of that.